The Grand Canyon, one of the most breathtaking natural wonders in the world. A place where towering cliffs meet endless skies, where the beauty of the wild can be as dangerous as it awe-inspiring. For one family, what was meant to be a simple road trip near this majestic landscape turned into a fight for survival. As winter storms swept through the region, snow covered the roads, turning them into icy traps. Their car, once a symbol of freedom and adventure, became their prison, stuck, surrounded by an endless stretch of white wilderness. With no clear path forward and the temperature dropping, they faced the raw power of nature, where one wrong move could mean the difference between life and death. This is their story. Welcome to Risky Reality, where risks become reality. Before we look closer at this captivating story, make sure to like and to subscribe to the channel. The goal for February is to reach 100 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it. Now let's continue. The Grand Canyon, a vast and breathtaking marvel of nature. Its sheer cliffs and rugged beauty have captivated travelers for generations. But beneath its stunning landscape lies an unforgiving wilderness, where extreme temperatures and unpredictable terrain can turn an adventure into a struggle for survival. In December 2016, the Klein family learned this the hard way. The Kleins, Karen, Eric, and their 10-year-old son, Isaac, had set out from Las Vegas, eager to fulfill a lifelong dream of seeing the Grand Canyon. Their excitement was palpable as they drove toward the North Rim, relying on their car's GPS to navigate the unfamiliar roads. What they didn't realize was that State Road 67, their planned route, was closed for the winter. Unaware, the GPS led them onto remote backroads used by the U.S. Forest Service, roads that were covered in deep snow and rarely traveled during the harsh winter months. As daylight faded, the snow grew heavier, blanketing the ground in an icy sheet. The family's rental car struggled against the accumulating snow until it skidded into a ditch, leaving them stranded miles from civilization. The stillness of the forest was deafening, broken only by the howling wind as night set in. With no cell service and temperatures rapidly dropping, they were faced with a difficult decision. Karen, a biology professor and an experienced runner, had taken survival training courses and felt she had the best chance of finding help. Eric, who had recently undergone back surgery, was in no condition for a strenuous trek. Together, they decided that Karen would set off alone in search of a main road or a ranger station, while Eric and Isaac remained with the car to conserve their energy and warmth. Before she left, Karen hugged her husband and son tightly, reassuring them that she would return with help. With only a small bottle of water and a snack-sized box of Cheerios, she stepped out into the snow-covered wilderness, determined to save her family. Hours passed as Karen trudged through the deep snow, her breath visible in the frigid air. The biting wind whipped against her face, and the thick forest seemed endless. Her initial hope of finding a well-traveled road within a couple of hours quickly faded as she realized just how isolated they were. Still, she pressed on, driven by the primal instinct to protect her loved ones. Back at the car, Eric did his best to keep Isaac calm. They rationed what little food and water they had, turning the car on and off to conserve gas while maintaining some warmth. The eerie silence of the snow-covered forest only heightened their sense of isolation. As the night stretched on, the temperature plummeted, and the reality of their situation became even more daunting. As the sun rose over the frozen landscape, Karen was still walking. She had covered miles through knee-deep snow, stopping only briefly to rest beneath an evergreen tree. She rocked back and forth to stay awake, willing herself to keep moving. By now, her water was gone, and in a desperate attempt to stay hydrated, she began eating snow and small bits of aspen and evergreen branches, anything to keep going. When her cell phone battery finally died, plunging her into complete darkness, she knew she had to rely on sheer determination to survive. Meanwhile, back at the car, concern grew. Eric waited anxiously for Karen's return, but as the hours dragged on, he knew something was wrong. On the second day, He made the agonizing decision to leave Isaac alone in the car while he attempted to hike to higher ground to find cell service. I told Isaac, I need to get this car out of the ditch, get you out of the forest, and find Mommy. Without help, that isn't going to happen, Eric later recalled. Isaac, though frightened, understood. His father gave him strict instructions: keep the doors locked, only open them for police or rangers, and turn the car on and off sparingly to preserve fuel. As Eric began his own desperate trek through the snow, he could only hope that Karen had found shelter, and that rescue would come before it was too late. Unbeknownst to him, Karen's journey had taken a harrowing turn. She had covered nearly 30 miles in the snow, her body pushed to its limits. Her left leg was injured, and one of her shoes had frozen so stiff with ice that it would no longer stay on. She pressed forward with one bare foot, her body numb from the cold. Every step was agony, but she refused to stop. Then, through the swirling snow, she saw it, a sign indicating that a Grand Canyon Visitor Center was just 4 miles away. It was the closest thing to hope she had seen in nearly 2 days. With her last ounce of strength, she moved forward, lifting her injured leg with each step. Those final 4 miles took her nearly 10 hours. When she reached the visitor center, it was closed for the winter. The realization was devastating, but she refused to give up. Breaking into a nearby ranger's cabin, she found no food, no heat, and no electricity, but she had shelter. Curling up in the darkness, she allowed exhaustion to take over, unsure of what the next day would bring. Little did she know, help was finally on the way. As Karen lay curled up in the dark ranger's cabin, exhaustion weighed heavily on her. The warmth off the shelter was minimal, but it was enough to keep her from succumbing to the relentless cold of the Grand Canyon's winter. She had pushed her body beyond its limits, walking nearly 30 miles through deep snow, battling hunger, dehydration, and injury. Though she had reached some semblance of safety, she was still alone, and she didn't know if help would come in time. Meanwhile, Eric had continued his own desperate journey, hiking uphill in search of cell service. His body ached from the effort, his breath coming in labored gasps as he climbed higher and higher through the thick snow. His mind was filled with worry about Karen, about Isaac, about whether they would all make it out alive. Then, after what felt like an eternity, his phone finally picked up a weak signal. With trembling fingers, he dialed 911. The call was patchy, but the message got through. Eric explained their dire situation to the emergency dispatcher, providing the last known locations of Karen and Isaac. Relief washed over him as the dispatcher assured him that a search and rescue team was being mobilized immediately. But his job wasn't done yet. He turned back, retracing his steps through the frozen wilderness, determined to reach Isaac and stay by his side until help arrived. Back at the car, Isaac sat bundled in the back seat, trying to stay warm. He had followed his father's instructions to the letter, running the engine in short intervals to preserve fuel. The hours felt endless, but he kept himself occupied by listening to music and imagining the moment his family would be reunited. Despite the fear gnawing at him, he stayed strong, sending out silent hopes that his mother and father were safe. As dawn broke, a team of rescuers set out, following the information Eric had provided. They first located the car, finding Isaac safe but visibly shaken. Wrapping him in warm blankets, they reassured him that his parents were alive and being searched for. With renewed urgency, they pressed on, following the tracks Karen had left behind in the snow. Hours later, they found her. She was weak, barely able to move, her body battered by the brutal journey. When the rescuers wrapped her in blankets and handed her a warm drink, she felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized she had made it. She had survived. But more than anything, she wanted to see Eric and Isaac. At the hospital in Kanab, Utah, the family was finally reunited. Eric and Isaac rushed to Karen's bedside, tears streaming down their faces as they embraced. She had suffered severe frostbite in her toes, and doctors warned that she might lose some of them. But in that moment, none of it mattered. They were together. They had survived. In the days that followed, Karen reflected on their ordeal. She had been pushed beyond her limits, but she had never lost hope. Her survival training had kept her alive, but it was love, her love for her family, that had given her the strength to keep going. "We're a miracle," she said, holding Eric and Isaac close. "We made it. That's all that matters." For the Klein family, the Grand Canyon would always be more than just a breathtaking destination. It would be the place where they faced the raw power of nature, where they fought for survival, and where they proved that love and determination could overcome even the harshest of trials. The Klein family's story is more than just a tale of survival. It is a testament to human resilience, love, and the power of preparation. Their ordeal in the snow-covered wilderness of the Grand Canyon serves as a stark reminder that nature is as unforgiving as it is beautiful. Looking back, Karen, Eric, and Isaac's survival was not just a stroke of luck. It was a combination of instinct, training, and determination. Their experience holds valuable lessons for anyone venturing into the wild. Always research your route. One of the first and most crucial lessons from their experience is the importance of preparation. Had they checked road conditions before setting out, they might have known that State Road 67 was closed for the winter. Before embarking on any trip, especially in remote areas, always verify routes and weather conditions to avoid unexpected dangers. Don't rely solely on technology. The family's reliance on GPS led them into uncharted and unsafe territory. While technology is a helpful tool, it is not infallible. Carrying a physical map and understanding how to navigate with it can be the difference between staying on track and getting lost. Their story, though harrowing, ended with a reunion and a newfound appreciation for life. The Grand Canyon, once a symbol of adventure, became a lesson in respect for nature's power. Today, the Kleins share their experience as both a cautionary tale and an inspiration, urging others to venture into the wild wisely and always be prepared for the unexpected. Because in the end, survival is not just about luck. It's about knowledge, preparation, and the will to keep going.